The Middle East is quickly becoming a vibrant global innovation hub with strong government support, abundant capital, and rapid digital adoption. So moving on, our next panel of experts are going to discuss with us how founders and funders are navigating AI governance, funding diversifications, smart city growth, green initiatives, talents, and geoeconomic to unlock scalable opportunities. And now, without any further ado, I would like to first invite the panel chair to come up on stage. Let's welcome Mr. Alvin Kwock, co-founder and CEO of AIFT. And now, also, let's welcome our panelists, including Mr. Samuel Tang, Managing Partner, Pembroke Capital Partners, Ms. Soumaya Beya Dridje, Partner of Rasmal Venture, and also Mr. Manav Gupta, CEO and founder of Brinc. Should we give a warm applause to our panel chair and panelists? Let's welcome them. And now, without any further ado, I'm going to pass over the stage to our panel chair. Alvin, please.
Well, thank you, Cyberport, for inviting us. As a quick intro, my name is Alvin Kwock. I'm the co-founder of AIFT. We are a proud Cyberport incubator alumni. And in fact, earlier this year, we have joined the Precise AI Accelerator. And the exact topic that we are tackling is the safety and security for generative AI. So really topical and also very adherent to the theme in the last panel as well. Now, I think today we have this Middle East panel really dear to our heart, clearly one of our focus, and very glad to have three esteemed speakers with me today. And I think on this on this topic, right? So I just come back from Middle East in the last 3 weeks. So at the time when it was the GITEX, there's 200,000 people attending GITEX. Last week in FRI, I think more than half of the Wall Street CEOs, I think vast majority of the big China and US and global tech CEOs are there. And then of course, I do already hear people talking about going into the conference in Qatar coming up for the Web Summit coming up. So I think given that the three esteemed speakers have been on the ground in Middle East, could you tell us more about why so many people are going to Middle East and what is really going on there? Maybe each of you can also do a quick intro and then jump into the topic, maybe starting from Manav.
Sure. First, thank you to have me, and great to see everybody here. And excited to join this panel and talk a little bit about what we've been doing in the Middle East. So Brinc is a global accelerator. We work with founders all around the world. We support them with capital. We support them with more than capital, a lot of resources. We went into the Middle East in 2017, and it's been a journey for us. And I think it's going to be a journey for everyone who's trying to navigate that region. We now run accelerators and have run accelerators with over 100 corporates and governments in the region. So we run the Sheikh's Accelerator in Saudi. We run the Omantel Accelerator in Oman. We've run a number of programs with NEOM. We run one of the Sheikh's Accelerators in Dubai. We run a number of VC programs. And we've just seen the region completely transform in the last 6 years since we've been there. Not only has the quality of talent increased, but we've also seen such a strong commitment by all the governments. If you go to every government ministry, every ministry has an accelerator. Every venture partner, every VC is looking to build out their own programs. And they realize the ecosystem is evolving. And the best way to support that ecosystem is to actually provide more than just capital. So there's an entire kind of shift. And if you see what's happening with all these conferences, everyone's also coming in and realizing you can't just fly in and fly out to access capital. You actually have to be there. So that the key theme is contribute, not just extract. So you have to show what you're doing, to actually support the region. And if you can do that well, then you'll get a lot of support.
Soumaya.
Super happy to be here. So I'm Soumaya bin Beya Dridje. I'm one of the founding partners of Rasmal Ventures. It's the first VC, homegrown VC in Qatar, with offices in Saudi Arabia and in Dubai. And we have Qatar Investment Authority as our anchor investor. So our mandate is to invest locally, regionally, and globally, as long as we could be smart money for the entrepreneurs to come and have their expansion in the Middle East. This is where we bring value. So a lot is happening in the Middle East. I mean, myself, I'm from the Middle East, but I also used to work in the US for over a decade in innovation and investment. And I decided to come back 3 years ago because of the momentum that is happening. So when we look at the region from outside, business-wise and personal-wise, both are important, right? So on the business side of things, you see that there is definitely government willingness, trillions of dollars deployed to make sure that the region, the GCC, shows on the map when it comes to innovation. You are having, an audience of over 70% of the population are youth. The GCC is definitely more like stable economically. The growth is tremendous in every single country. And on the personal level, it's a place where people are being attracted. Talent is excited to be in the Middle East because of the quality of life, because of feeling, somehow safe as well, other than some recent news, but still a place where you can live, grow family while being part of the innovation. So it checks a lot of boxes for smart people that want to innovate to be there. So definitely showed on the map. And now the difference is that we're not only seeing people coming for fundraising, for capital, we're seeing people coming to build. It's the time for, I would say it started a while ago, but it's still a little bit time for builders to be there. So not only raising capital now, but also homegrown innovation. And that's the willingness of the new visions that are being defined in multiple countries in the Middle East to do that.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for Cyberport inviting me. I'm Sam. So I'm a founding partner of the Pembroke Capital Partners. So we raised family money from the GCC and also Hong Kong, and in order to invest into China with the aim of bringing this great Chinese technology and also consumer brands into the GCC. So basically we have over the last 3-4 years based ourselves in Dubai, while our colleagues in Dubai is running over every pot in GCC. And responding to Alvin saying that like in this last couple of weeks, we were having GITEX, FII, those great conferences in the GCC. Like we experienced loads of traffic jam. Like probably Alvin, you experienced the same thing as well, which actually is a reflection of how popular these conferences are. So many of these companies, startups or growth stage companies is going into the GCC, especially UAE and Saudi, for the market and also the capital. So for us, we have a number of our portfolio companies and our JV companies also launch in the GITEX and Expand North Star, which are the great conferences and making Marina and also the World Trade Center severely congested. But I think it's a good signal actually for our Far Eastern companies to try to get into the Middle East, and it's a good first step. Yeah.
I think one key theme, common theme, apparently, I think it's not just it's to really think about how to build, right? And have people on the ground. And I think one common term that I keep hearing is the venture capitals are looking for not only return on capital, but also return on capital on expertise. So this is something that we do hear quite often. In fact, we just had the R&D collaboration with King's University and really drive on the Arabic language and culture. How are we going to make sure that it's going to be safe and secure when it comes to AI? So I think that is indeed a very important theme. Now, maybe jumping to a little bit on the kind of sectors and industries. So, like out of East Asia, right? In whether it's China or Southeast Asia or Hong Kong, like which industries do you think would fit well with the demand or the appetite from the Middle East? And do you see Middle East as a domestic demand or as the market, Or do you actually see it as a hub of a greater market, let's say in MENA or other regions?
Happy to start. If you look at the deal count from this year, the top 3 sectors, number 1 is fintech, kind of outpacing every other industry. The second is enterprise, and the third is retail. So, it makes a lot of sense. There's an incredible appetite for those 3 sectors. And, there's a big push towards kind of financial inclusion. There's a lot of products and services that are being built towards that. Obviously, Hong Kong is an incredible financial hub. There's lots of scope and opportunity potentially to, target that sector. Number 2, enterprise. There's a lot of stuff happening, and also retail. It's a major, biggest shopping mall in the world, major consumer market, lots of scope to build. I think it can be leveraged not only as a funding market, as we were talking about, but it's a great place to experiment and test. And every region has its own kind of mandate. They all have their own 2030, 2035 goals. So I think if you're a startup or if you're an investor, you're looking to build, you have to really tailor your product, your service, your engagement towards those goals. To your point, it's not just capital, it's making sure that you're driving value for the local ecosystem. And that may be slightly different in each region. When we help support our startups, we'll find that a startup really has to not only say, okay, if I'm in the UAE, that's great, but you actually have to put boots on the ground in Saudi if you want support in Saudi. You got to put boots on the ground in Qatar if you want support in Qatar. So you have to really tailor your product and service for that region and what that region needs.
Definitely. So as a GCC-based venture capital fund, when we decide to invest in foreign regions, and now that we're getting more and more interested also in Hong Kong and China, we need to find where is the complementarity, where is the key value both sides to be a win-win relationship in that sense. And so we spent some quality time this last year actually coming to the region and trying to understand the sectors, the offerings, and our, let's say, first thoughts were that sectors like supply chain logistics, sectors like fintech and health tech are the top 3 we felt super comfortable with, having incredible innovations here and really needed in the Middle East, really needed in the GCC. It means that for me, meeting a company in one of those 3 sectors, I'll be when I make an introduction or call one of the clients in Qatar or the UAE to say, hey, I have this health tech company, I know they will take my call, and I know they will be excited to have it because they have those really, harsh goals to meet, to digitize all those sectors, to advance on those sectors and all those parts. So for example, like one thing we saw in supply chain logistics super interesting is that you guys are leaders in this sector, in this part of the world, and the quality of tech that you have is incredible. Like the way warehouses are digitized in Hong Kong and China is nowhere else in the world. Like, when we met, warehouse leaders in the GCC and exposed to them the company that we met, they said we looked everywhere for something like this. We have our reach, and we still didn't find something like that. So those sectors, there is a really win-win because there is a huge need and actually great tech coming from here. But then we're starting to explore, right? So we made our first investment. We're eager to do more. We're still exploring and trying to find those sweet spots. But those are the 3 first thoughts I had. Yeah,
indeed. We're still exploring, but certainly something is very obvious is artificial intelligence in the GCC, and especially UAE and Saudi. They're really looking at AI. So perhaps just a quick example. For example, previously in GITEX, these tech conferences, people have to apply and pay for their booth in order to exhibit. But they have a specific AI part where they can apply and they allow it for free for people to come in. And in Saudi, they set up a huge platform called Humane, where they basically actively build put in billions of US dollar into building AI infrastructure, and they also set up funds under this setup in order to invest in a lot of AI companies. And they are pretty open, like US company, Chinese company, as long as they can benefit the country, the kingdom. Basically, they are very welcome. So under our Pembroke Capital umbrella, we have 3 different AI companies. And basically they're doing pretty well in these GCC countries, and somehow they solve the pain point. I want to say that more I look into the industries within the GCC, that as long as there's some pain points that our technology can solve, it's actually something that you can explore it and actually give a great return for our Far Eastern Chinese companies. For example, under our umbrella, we have a great air nanotechnology air treatment company under our portfolio. So basically, they are now in Hong Kong International Airport. The air treatment company is there, like in the product. The air treatment is done by this company. So we noticed that in the malls, in Hong Kong, hospitals in Europe, and like they've been applying this technology. And why don't we apply it also for our portfolio companies in the UAE? And turn out, like in the Dubai Mall, they have great prayer rooms, and they have some smells. They need to treat it, but none of the other technology can treat it really well. We applied our technology there. They love it. They solve the problem of some smells in the prayer rooms, and then they give the purchase order. And then one purchase orders in the EMA, like all of the malls, is now applying this kind of great air technology from Hong Kong. Okay, so I think in terms of industry, it's always applying, trying exploring what's the pain point. And once we find out the pain point, it might be a good entry point for our Far Eastern companies. Thank you, Alvin.
Well, I'm really glad to hear that fintech and AI are two of the key themes in GCC. And Cyberport is really the right place for that. Cyberport is clearly one of the top incubator and accelerator in East Asia for these sectors. And I also echo the point that, hey, so where's the pain points and where we can solve it? And this bring back my memory. I think that was 2.5 years ago. I still remember at the time I met the Minister of Economy at UAE at Cyberport at the time. And we put together a presentation. We say, hey, this is how Hong Kong do responsible innovation on the blockchain side. We got 70 to 80% market share in Asia. Okay, and this is something we think we can bring this to the GCC region. And at the end of the presentation, he says, are you free to go hiking tomorrow? And the next week, and that really kicked off the entire journey that we have in the GCC region. So I think they really love to have the top products coming from this region and contribute in the MENA region. Of course, there's going to be quite a lot of localization, like especially when it comes to fintech side, regulation is extremely important. Central Bank of UAE approval, etc. Like all those things that we need to get through, but it's a very fruitful journey on that basis. Now, I think coming to the last question, so I want to tap the advice from the three speakers in how would you recommend the Hong Kong startups, Cyberport startups, if they aim to leverage the Middle East capital and scale regionally or even globally? What are the 2 or 3 key success factors you think are important to unlock this opportunity? Maybe this time start with Sam.
Yeah, sure. In the GCC, in the MENA market, there's lots of liquidity. And that's actually differentiated from most of the other markets. But I think most of the Far Eastern Chinese or even mainland Chinese or Hong Kong technology companies or startups who have never go into that area, they thought, oh, there's a lot of money, people have lots of money, they will invest easily. I think some point of time, like we have to realize that these are the great investors in the Middle East. They're very experienced, they understand what they're doing, they have lots of capital. So I would love to try to help with everyone that the strategy of entering into these capital markets, of private capital markets in the Middle East, is that try to differentiate yourself. Like lots of companies, Chinese companies or even American companies going into the Middle East saying that, hey, I want your capital. We pitch it. They have absolutely no intention of going into the Middle East and absolutely have no business in the Middle East yet. So they ask people to get the money out from the Middle East to invest directly into China or invest directly into the US. Okay, so this is probably 90% of what's going on. Like at my back, there's a lot of great Emirati families who are our investors. They're bombarded with lots of these kind of pitches. Okay, and then they'll throw them into the rubbish bin because they thought, oh, the MENA market, the GCC is growing like crazy. You're taking my money out into somewhere else, not keeping my money here to develop your technology here. That's a pain point. That's a quote issue. So what happened is, like, whenever we try to get our portfolio company to pitch other investors in the GCC, we already have some of the concrete business within GCC before we show it to them. And that will actually help you to beat 99% of other competitors who are fundraising in the region. So this is one of the ways. Certainly there's a lot of different ways, and also you have to spend time, as what Alvin said, hiking, which actually represent the point that, like, people love to have the relationship first before having the business, okay? Especially the fundraising, the investment thing. But unfortunately, most of the entrepreneurs in the Far East or America is so busy. They want to expand. They understand that there's huge potential in the MENA market, but they don't have the time. And because they're not like Meituan, or they doesn't like Alibaba to have such a great platform, they can send billions of renminbi or like hundreds and hundreds of people over there in the first day. Most of the startup, we understand. We don't have that capacity. But still, you have to find a way out, like perhaps to find out great people like in the panelists to help with, in order to connect you to get more air time, I mean the face time with the potential investors over there. And that's very, very important. Yeah, that's the 2 cents for me. Thanks.
Totally agree with that for sure. Now, it's also a place where, like, to emphasize those points and to add complementary thoughts. So it's one of those places where also the culture is different. And every region has its own culture, right? So sometimes saying, sometimes expressing your thoughts in a certain way could be more appealing than in the other way. So taking the time to prepare, understanding what matters for those cultures, what's important for the GCC people, where did all this start from? Learning some key points, key language sentences that make a difference. Those people are like, it's definitely a place where it's a relationship-based rather than business-based. In a way, business-based obviously, but the relationship is always number one. The trust is number one. And trust can't be there if there is no genuine interest in the other person and in the other culture. So that's something very important. And I understand that a lot of founders, and they should be just go-getter, I have a mission, I'm coming here, I have one day, I need to meet all those people. It's not about quantity sometimes as much as it's for quality. Being patient, understanding what does it mean, how a no is said, how a yes is said, getting warm introductions from trusted partners locally is also important. It's great to go and say hi and start a relationship, but I always noticed in the region is that it makes an entire difference who introduce you to your key client, or how you build that connection to come and say hi. It's very, I don't want to say codified, but it's very different from what I used to have in previous funds and previous lives and previous regions, and it definitely need that patient element. Now, my last thought on this is really to just coming and visiting at the beginning is great, but if you don't have a shop physically there before engaging relationships, we have prestigious clients, B2Bs that need tech, and they tell us, hey, guys, we love the companies you speak to, but if they don't have an establishment, if they don't have their customer support here, we had so many stories before where we found ourselves stuck with the tech and we have no way to move forward because we don't have people to speak to here. So if they're not already established, actually the conversation is not even interested enough for them to take in the next step. So not prioritized in their minds. So yeah, this is a nutshell.
100% concur with everything that was shared, and I'll try and add on, but I think it was that initial point I kind of started with, contribute, not extract. I think that's the key point. The amount of operating JVs also that are being set up, because the Middle East is very motivated to have investors to put capital into also the local operations, not just the global operations. I think that's a very it's an opportune time because there's a lot of great tech and the region wants a lot of it. But you have to treat your investors like partners, keep them up to date, send them updates frequently. Don't just go in and say, I need cash. Have a conversation, build a relationship. You also need to really understand the region and probably build out your local trust and credibility. We acquired this platform 2 years ago called Call Me. Call Me is the #1 mentor booking platform in the Middle East. So we have about 400 mentors when we acquired it. It's about 1,000 mentors now. And we see a lot of our founders leveraging that platform to go find mentors in this sector or in the region where they want to enter, who then give them kind of detailed guidance in terms of how to do it, and then can also join them and say, I'm going to join your advisory board, I'm going to help you scale this. We've run a lot of programs with NEOM on the supply chain and logistics side with McLaren, for example, where we had Hong Kong startup supply come through, actually get accelerated. We've had other teams that have leveraged those brand names and said, look, I got accelerated by NEOM. I had McLaren. I did a workshop with McLaren in the UK. I'm committed to the region, and we've worked with them to actually win those tenders, get those pilots. So I think you really have to commit to the region. You have to fully commit in every way and say, look, it's the same thing I think anywhere in the world. You can't just walk in and say, give me money and I'm out. It doesn't work.
Well, I think we have an extremely fruitful panel, and I think just to supplement a little bit to that, it's all about people. Ultimately, right? It's about the relationship, it's also about the team. And on the team side, now we have 12 people in Middle East, and I can share with you that it is a place where so many Europeans, Africa, Middle East are there. So and of course a lot of Indians as well. So when it comes to building the team, this is something that is also extremely important. I think for us, out of 12 people, we have people from Africa, we have a Scottish as a general manager, we have Indians, Pakistanis, Emiratis, other Emiratis. So this is a very, very interesting and eye-opening experience, and would love to, share more again in the CVCF next year. Thank you.